Hi, I'm in a complete mess right now because of my batshit crazy mom and my no less stupid fiance who teamed up to totally wreck my peace of mind with their greed. I'd love to vent about this to friends, but it's way too personal and way too humiliating to talk about with anyone in real life. Trust me, you'll see why I say that once you hear what I've been through. I barely have any family, so there's no one to talk to, which is why I'm here, just to get it all out and make sure I'm not some kind of monster like they're trying to make me out to be. It all started just 2 weeks ago when, out of nowhere, my husband, who I'd been with for 3 years, announced he wanted to break up with me because he'd developed feelings for my mom. Let's call this jerk Kevin. Yeah, you heard that right. And no, it's not a joke. Believe me, I was just as shocked as you are now. Plus, a hefty dose of disgust when he dropped this on me. He said he'd been having an affair with her for 3 months. I didn't notice a thing because I was swamped with work, and he was acting totally normal, nothing suspicious at all. For context, my mom is only 20 years older than me. I'm 27 now, and she's 47. She had me when she was still in college. My dad ditched her the day she told him she was pregnant, but she just needed an excuse to drop out of college, so she decided to keep the baby and told my grandma, her mom, that she wanted to be a single mother. My grandparents were wealthy enough to support her, though they were against her quitting school. They tried to convince her to go back to college after I was born, but she refused. My mom tried a ton of jobs until she finally settled on interior decorating. No, she's not an interior designer. She doesn't design anything. She just tells people where to put furniture and how to decorate a room to make it look nice. It's rich people nonsense, basically, but she's pretty good at it. She's not a professional, has no degree, but since my grandpa was a well known realtor, he sent clients her way. My mom is the most unreliable, flaky person ever, and she's insanely lucky to have been born into a well off family, because otherwise she'd be living on the streets by now. I was basically raised by my grandparents because my mom never had time for me, and it wasn't because of work. She was busy running around to parties while I was growing up. Even as a kid, I seriously thought my grandparents were my real parents, and my mom was just an older sister or something. That's how my childhood went. When I hit my teenage years, I gave up hoping for anything from my mom. She was as carefree as ever. My grandpa died when I was in seventh grade, and after that, it was just me and my grandma against the world, including my mom, because she was often the hardest to deal with. If you've ever had to explain to your mom as a 15-year-old high schooler why she shouldn't fly to Iceland with a guy she met on Tinder 2 days ago, you'll get what my teenage years were like. She's an absolute fool and doesn't give a damn how her behavior affects others, even her own family. She doesn't care. My grandma always drilled into me that after her death, I'd be on my own because I couldn't count on my mom for help. So I worked my ass off and made something of myself. Now I'm the operations director at a company earning twice as much as Kevin. He's the head of sales at a small firm, but I never held that over him or tried to belittle him. Partly because I graduated from one of the best business schools in the state and interned at the same company I work for now, thanks to my grandma's connections. She taught me to be humble, unlike Kevin and my mom, who acted like they were some kind of celebrities for no reason, even though they hadn't achieved anything yet. I met Kevin at a mutual friend's birthday party about 5 years ago, and we hit it off right away. We had a lot in common. We dated for 2 years, and when he proposed, I didn't even hesitate. I said yes immediately. He seemed like a good guy, at least. Back then, I thought so. He'd often joke that I had a hot mom, which, well, isn't entirely untrue. I'd never call her hot because she's nuts. And, my mom. But I can't deny that for her age, she looks pretty good. She made a fortune peddling so called feng shui decor to people, and then spent all that money on cosmetics and Botox. No surprise, she looks attractive for her years. I don't want to disrespect real interior decorators with professional training. Maybe real feng shui actually works, but everything my mom does is just a scam because she doesn't know a damn thing about it. I respect people who actually know their craft, but my mom isn't one of them. Plus, she's just a terrible person, so I have every right to talk crap about her. I thought Kevin would be different from my exes, that I could trust him, but nope, I was wrong again. He'd joke that my mom was so hot she could pass for my sister, despite the kind of relationship we had. I laughed it off because who the hell would think something like that could actually happen in real life? I only kept in touch with my mom for my grandma's sake. She's the one who raised me to be who I am, and I'll always be grateful for that, even if it meant putting up with her unhinged daughter. My grandma could never cut my mom off because she was a kind person and loved her daughter despite all her flaws. But my mom, no matter how hard I tried, could never love me more than she loved herself. Even after my grandma died almost a year ago, I still tried to keep in touch with my mom. Our relationship was awful, but I kept looking out for her mostly out of a sense of duty to my grandma. But all that ended 2 weeks ago when Kevin told me about their affair. He sat me down at the table when I got back from a business trip the day before, and with a completely serious face, said he was in love with my mom and they wanted to be together. At first, I thought he was joking and laughed, but for the first time ever, he didn't laugh back. Then he started telling me in detail how he and my mom had been sleeping together behind my back for 3 months. Apparently, Kevin and I had argued over some stupid thing, and at that moment, my mom texted him asking how to fix her earbuds. That's how they started talking, and it gradually turned into something more than just friendship. At first, they didn't plan to go that far, but it happened, and they couldn't help themselves. I'm sure it didn't bother Kevin at all that my mom and I look a lot alike. I kicked him out that very minute, and he didn't even put up much of a fight because he knew he could just go straight to my dear mommy. I think I downed a whole bottle of wine that night, crying like a banshee. I sat there until morning, sobbing so hard my eyes swelled up twice their size. Around 4:30 a.m., unable to handle the rage and pain, I decided to text my mom. I was drunk, and that's probably what pushed me to send that message. I told her a ton of stuff, called her a terrible daughter to my grandma, and an equally terrible mother to me, saying she was only getting worse with age. I told her she was nothing but a fraud, and that once her Botox and fillers wore off, Kevin would see the ugly witch she really is, and dump her too. I didn't expect her to reply at all, but she did, and damn, that message opened my eyes. She wrote that she might lose her beauty someday, but she sure as hell wouldn't lose her bank account, which was about to grow tenfold thanks to my grandma's will. I'd completely forgotten about that while grieving her death, but her lawyer had said we'd only learn the exact contents of the will after the probate period, which would take about 6 to 9 months. Enough time had passed since then, so we were due to hear soon. My grandma had given her lawyer strict instructions not to reveal who got what until the whole period was over. All we knew was where she wanted to be buried, and that was it. So neither I nor my mom knew what we'd get, but since my grandma had a lot of money, assets, and property, we expected a pretty generous inheritance. Well, my mom expected it at least because when my grandma died, The only thing that mattered to me was that she was gone, and I was truly alone now. The contents of the will didn't concern me much because I've never put money above relationships. But for Kevin, as it turned out, money was a big deal. That's why he chose my mom over me. They both figured her share of the inheritance would be bigger than mine. They must have been 100% sure of it because my mom was bragging to me like she'd already heard from the lawyer and knew exactly what she was getting before I was even told. In the end, I didn't reply to her message and just tried to put it all out of my mind. The very next day, I spoke to my lawyer and said I wanted to file for divorce as soon as possible. A week after Kevin's confession, the papers were ready. Now I just had to wait for the divorce to go through so he could spend the rest of his days with his ex-wife's mother. But then a real miracle happened, and for that I'm endlessly grateful to my grandma, because even after her death, she's still protecting me. I'd asked my grandma's lawyer, the executor of the will, to inform me and my mom separately, because I couldn't bear the thought of sitting in the same room with her and Kevin. 5 days ago, she told me my mom had already been informed about what she got, and now it was my turn. I went to her office with zero expectations, but when I left, I felt like the happiest person on this whole damn planet. I got all of my grandma's money assets and property, while my mom got just a diamond ring and matching earrings that my grandma wore when she was alive. That's all she got. As it turned out, my grandma left everything to me because she'd spent her whole life taking care of my mom. And now that she's almost 50, she's old enough to take care of herself. So as paradoxical as it sounds, my grandma, who always told me I'd be alone after her death, actually made sure I was financially secure, so I wouldn't have to depend on the inheritance. But the woman who'd spent her entire pathetic life counting on my grandma's support was left with nothing. In essence, my mom was the one left alone. This was karma at its finest, most vicious form, and I've never felt as happy in my life as I did in that moment. My mom found out about everything just an hour before I did, but I had no idea what she'd do next, and I was honestly curious. I was sure that even if my mom didn't try to reach out, Kevin definitely would, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't even wait for the sake of decency. The very next day, he texted me saying he'd made a huge mistake and wanted to come back if I'd still have him. He said he and my mom were never right for each other, and after spending just a few days with her, he realized how good he had it with me. He said he understood everything now and wanted to give our marriage a second chance. I literally laughed out loud reading that pathetic attempt at reconciliation. They probably didn't even suspect I already knew my mom got almost nothing. No big inheritance was coming. I spent the whole day thinking about what to reply, and in the end, I just sent him a clown emoji and blocked him. I was 100% sure he hadn't told my mom about this, so to make sure I took a screenshot of his message and sent it to her, but with 3 clown emojis. After that, I turned off my phone because I didn't want to deal with the circus that was bound to follow. Instead, I fired up Netflix and decided to have a quiet evening, not letting Kevin or my mom ruin my nerves anymore. The next morning, I found out how it all ended. My mom's neighbor's daughter told me everything. For context, my mom still lives in the house where I grew up. My grandpa left that house to my grandma and her daughter. So after my grandma's death, my mom stayed there. I'm friends with the neighbor's daughter, so she filled me in. Around 10 p.m., she started hearing loud yelling coming from my mom's house. No one in their family went to check because everyone knew my mom and nobody liked her. But then there were hysterical screams, and that finally made them go outside. My crazy mom had literally thrown Kevin out of the house, and he was lying on the sidewalk while she hurled everything she could grab at him, screaming the most vile, disgusting things. Kevin screamed because she grabbed a heavy hardcover book and threw it at him. Unfortunately, it hit him square in the forehead. When the neighbors ran out, he already had a gash on his forehead and was trying to stop the bleeding with his hand. The wound was serious enough that he needed 5 stitches. Hearing about this was, to put it mildly, unsettling. Kevin even filed a police report against my mom. In the end, she just got slapped with a huge fine, but Kevin really got hurt. She obviously didn't mean to take it that far and was out of her mind at the time, so the cops went easy on her. Plus, she has a great lawyer and is friends with the district attorney's wife, which also helped. And of course, as soon as she got home, she immediately blamed me for everything and started sending a ton of disgusting messages from her second number, which I hadn't blocked. I'm trying my hardest to ignore them, but I can't help wondering if this is partly my fault. What Kevin and my mom did to me is unforgivable, but now I'm thinking maybe I should have just been happy with what I had and not meddled in their lives to get back at them. What I did was also out of anger and hurt, and I'm not proud of it, just so you know. If I'd known it would spiral into such insane consequences, I'd never have sent my mom that screenshot. I just wanted them to feel like crap. It never crossed my mind that someone could actually get hurt. My mom has never attacked anyone before, at least as far as I know, so I couldn't have predicted this. I feel awful about how it turned out, and her constant attempts to paint herself as the victim and make me the villain only make it worse. Even Kevin is now posting cryptic quotes about betrayal and other nonsense, which is just peak irony. But that's not the point. Right now, it feels like they're just dumping all the blame on me. I don't know. I really regret that I got involved in destroying my mom's and my almost ex husband's relationship just because she bragged about stealing my man, thanks to an inheritance she didn't even get. Well, before we move on to the updates for this story, I suggest you write in the comments right now what you think about it. Did the author do the right thing, or should she have stayed out of their relationship? Personally, I think she didn't do anything wrong. Absolutely the right move. She sent those clowns. She sent that screenshot. Big deal. That guy brought it on himself by texting her. She just forwarded a screenshot. She didn't really meddle or pull some hardcore dirty tricks. She just passed along a message. The fact that she regrets not being convenient for her mom and ex-husband is telling her mom and ex didn't try to be convenient for her, but for some reason that matters to her. Guys, a huge thank you for the unreal support in the comments. Thanks for all the kind words, especially to those who wrote about my grandma. Yeah, she was one of a kind, and I really feel like one of the luckiest people alive to have had such an amazing woman in my life as a kid. It at least somewhat makes up for having a mom like mine. I don't feel guilty anymore about what happened because, honestly, I didn't do anything that terrible. They destroyed my marriage, and I destroyed their relationship, an eye for an eye. It was my mom who lost it and attacked the guy she supposedly loves, so I'm definitely not going to feel sorry for her. She's the crazy one here, not me, and she sure as hell won't make me feel like the villain because everything that happened is entirely on her conscience. Kevin got hurt, and yeah, I feel a tiny bit sorry for him because violence is never okay. But at the same time, this is the same guy who literally cheated on his wife with her mom. That's disgusting. I can't fathom how anyone could think they have the right to ask to come back after something like that. I'm sorry he got hurt, but it's not my fault, not my problem. So I've decided to block them both everywhere I can. I'm seriously considering a restraining order because my mom's really lost it. Who knows what's going on in her head or what she might do next? If she's mad at me for ruining her love, she could easily turn on me. I don't want that, but I also don't want to abandon everything I've worked for and leave just because my mom's a psychotic monster. So, a restraining order is probably the best way to protect myself from her. I hope it doesn't come to that, though. Looks like I'll have to file for that restraining order after all. I ignored my mom for almost 2 weeks and was starting to move on with my life. Kevin accepted my divorce filing and didn't contest it. It seemed like things were slowly getting back on track. With therapy, I was planning to finally let go of this whole disgusting mess. But unfortunately, my mom decided to make my life hell again. Yesterday, I saw her on my front yard, right by my front door. I'd just gotten home after a long workday. I told her to get lost or I'd call the police right from my car, but she didn't even budge. Instead, she said I could do whatever I wanted, but she wasn't leaving until she talked to me about the inheritance. I told her to talk from a distance because I was genuinely curious about what she had to say. And then she straight up demanded half of everything I inherited because it's fair since my grandma was her mother. I laughed in her face and told her she's the last creature who gets to talk about fairness. Then I told her to get out because I wasn't giving her anything and dialed 911 in case she tried something. She gave me a venomous look and walked to her car. I immediately rolled up my windows and did it just in time because as soon as she got to her car, she kicked the passenger door with her foot, leaving a dent. I only noticed the dent when I got out of the car. I didn't get out until I saw her get in her car and drive far enough away. I took pictures of everything right away in case I needed evidence, and I already have footage from my home security cameras showing exactly what she did. Then I called my lawyer, told her what happened, and said I definitely want to file for a restraining order against my mom. So that's in the works now. I tried to file a police report, but since my mom is friends with the district attorney's wife, the station chief said there's nothing he can do. His hands are tied. Well, screw it, because at least I have the security footage and you can't fake that. It clearly shows her face and everything she did. I even downloaded the video and saved it on my laptop so nothing gets lost. The next couple of days are going to be hell with all the court visits, but at least I'll finally be rid of these people. Hey everyone, things have been crazy lately with the divorce and all this legal mess. Right now, we're in the middle of discussing settlement terms, and it's driving me nuts. But last week, I finally got the restraining order against my mom, so that's done. Phew. Kevin and his lawyer have been spewing a ton of lies, so I'm gathering all the evidence I can of his cheating for the next meeting. I hope this will all be over soon. It's exhausting, but I'm regularly seeing a therapist to deal with the anger and not let it ruin my daily life. If I've learned anything from this, it's that I definitely don't want to end up like my crazy mom. That's it for now. Let me know what you think of the story in the comments. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Check out our previous video, which you'll see right here. Subscribe to the channel, and good luck to you all.